There is an ancient doorway hidden in plain sight, one so small, so subtle, that most adults walk past it without ever noticing. Yet according to Jesus, it is the only entrance into the kingdom. Not a heaven after death, but a higher state of consciousness available here and now. And the key to this doorway? A paradox that has baffled theologians, mystics, and seekers for centuries. Become like a child. What could this possibly mean? Surely Jesus didn't call us to regress, to abandon intelligence, or to pretend we don't know what we know. And yet throughout history, the awakened ones, from desert hermits to Tibetan adepts, have whispered that this mysterious command contains the core of spiritual transformation. It is not childishness, but a return to an original state, an inner posture where perception becomes fresh, the heart becomes unarmored, and the soul remembers what the mind has forgotten. But why did Jesus emphasize this so fiercely? Why is the child mind the threshold between ordinary life and the kingdom within? And why has this saying, known as saying 4 in the Gospel of Thomas, been quietly buried beneath layers of dogma, translation errors, and cultural assumptions? In today's journey, we will peel back those layers. We will explore the hidden meaning behind this enigmatic teaching, how ancient mystics understood it, why modern psychology unknowingly confirms it, and how you can experience this childlike consciousness in your own life. We'll step into the ancient world where this saying was first spoken, trace its echoes across lost civilizations and mystery schools, and uncover a truth both humbling and electrifying: that spiritual maturity is not the accumulation of knowledge, but the return to a secret innocence. By the end of this video, you won't simply understand what Jesus meant. You'll feel its echo in your inner world. You'll recognize the child that still lives within you, not as a memory, but as a living doorway awaiting your return. If you're ready to open that door, the journey begins now. To understand what Jesus meant when he said we must become like children, we have to travel back, farther back than Sunday sermons, dusty commentaries, or medieval interpretations. We must step into the world where this teaching was first spoken, a world alive with competing philosophies, mystery traditions, and esoteric schools hidden behind the veil of ordinary religion. The saying we're exploring appears in the Gospel of Thomas, an early Christian text discovered in 1945 in Nag Hammadi, Egypt. Unlike the canonical Gospels, Thomas is not a narrative. It is a collection of pure sayings, raw, enigmatic, and mystical. Scholars believe it may preserve a more original layer of Jesus' teachings, untouched by later theological agendas. Saying 4 reads, "The man old in days will not hesitate to ask a small child of 7 days concerning the place of life, and he will live." On the surface, it's perplexing. Why should an elder ask a newborn about the place of life? But in the ancient world, metaphors like this were intentional, codes for states of consciousness, rather than literal instructions. In Jesus' time, the region was a crossroads of ideas. Jewish mysticism, Greek philosophy, Egyptian spirituality, and Persian esoteric traditions all mingled there. Teachers often spoke in paradoxes to provoke awakening, not intellectual agreement. So, when Jesus spoke of the kingdom, he wasn't referring to a future paradise. He was pointing to a hidden reality beneath the surface of this one, a reality accessed through perception, not belief. Meanwhile, in other traditions, the idea of returning to a childlike state appears again and again. In Taoism, Lao Tzu described the sage as one who returns to the freshness of a newborn. In Egyptian temples, initiates were sometimes symbolically reborn to represent the awakening of unconditioned awareness. In Greek mystery schools, the pure of heart, those free from the ego's tight grip, were considered closest to the divine. So why has the idea become so misunderstood today? After the first centuries of Christianity, institutional religion sought coherence and control. Mystical ambiguity was a threat. Esoteric teachings were either simplified into literal doctrines or dismissed as heresy. The inner child spoken of in Thomas wasn't a sentimental figure. It represented a state of consciousness uncorrupted by social conditioning, fear, and mental rigidity. But this meaning faded as dogma grew. By the Middle Ages, Jesus' command to become like children was reduced to obedience, innocence, or moral purity. Its deeper psychological and spiritual meaning, its power, was almost entirely lost. But now, as modern seekers turn back to ancient texts with new eyes, the deeper truth is resurfacing. This saying isn't about naivety. It's about unlearning. It's about peeling away the layers of ego, trauma, and expectation that bury the natural state of the soul. The child of 7 days is a symbol of raw awareness, before identity, before fear, before the world teaches us who we are allowed to be. In this light, Jesus wasn't giving a moral command. He was offering a map back to our original nature, a return to the self we were before the world began shaping us. And this is where the true journey begins. To truly grasp what it means to become like a child, we must step beyond the literal and enter the symbolic realm where ancient teachers communicated their most profound insights. The child in saying 4 is not just an infant. It represents a primordial state of consciousness, a way of seeing the world before the ego crystallizes around our perception. Imagine for a moment the mind of a newborn. There are no concepts, no beliefs, no rigid identities. There is only raw experience, sound, color, sensation, unfiltered, unjudged. In this state, awareness is pure. Everything appears miraculous because nothing has been named yet. The newborn doesn't divide reality into good or bad, sacred or ordinary, self or other. This is the first key. The child symbolizes unconditioned perception. When Jesus says the old man must ask a child of 7 days about the place of life, he is illustrating a cosmic reversal. The accumulation of years, our intellect, our knowledge, our assumptions, is not what leads us to the kingdom. Instead, it is the recovery of a perception before all of that. To find the deeper life, the old mind must bow to the original mind. This isn't unique to Jesus. In Zen Buddhism, beginners are said to possess shoshin, or beginner's mind, the most fertile state for awakening. The moment we think we already understand reality, we become blind to deeper truth. Knowledge can illuminate, but it can also imprison. But the Gospel of Thomas goes a step further. It doesn't simply praise the beginner's mind. It speaks of a return to the pre-egoic state. The 7-day-old child is a powerful symbol in Semitic and Near Eastern traditions. 7 days marks the first cycle of life, the completion of a sacred rhythm. A child at 7 days is new to the world, yet already part of its cosmic order. This points us to the second key. The child represents unity consciousness. Before a child learns the word I, there is no separation between self and world. There is only experience unfolding. The sense of separateness, so central to adult suffering, doesn't exist yet. Mystics across cultures describe enlightenment as a return to this non-separation, not through ignorance, but through profound awareness. And this is where saying 4 becomes radical. Jesus is not describing a regression to infancy. He is describing a conscious return to a primordial unity. In other words, a merging of the wisdom of age with the purity of the newborn. The old man asking the 7-day-old child symbolizes the merging of intellect and innocence, knowledge and wonder, humanity and divinity. The third key emerges from this union. The child symbolizes fearless presence. A newborn has no memory of yesterday and no concept of tomorrow. It rests in pure presence, responding to life moment by moment. Adults lose this ability because memory and anticipation dominate our awareness. Fear enters, shame enters, anxiety enters. Our attention becomes fractured, scattered across timelines that don't exist in the present moment. To return to the child is to return to the now, not as a technique, but as a natural state. This idea terrified ancient institutions because it places spiritual authority not in priests, temples, or rituals, but in your direct experience. It suggests that the kingdom cannot be given to you by any external power. It emerges when you peel back the layers that obscure your original awareness. And so, becoming like a child isn't about innocence. It's about remembrance. It's about recovering the clarity that was always yours, buried under decades of conditioning. It is the lifelong process of disentangling from the false self so you can see reality with the same wonder, openness, and authenticity you were born with. In Part 2, we'll dive deeper into the hidden paradoxes, misconceptions, and advanced layers of this teaching, because the child is only the doorway. What stands on the other side is something even more mysterious. Now that the symbolic meaning of the child has begun to reveal itself, we can journey deeper into the hidden architecture of this teaching, into the paradoxes and subtle layers that most interpretations overlook. Because to become like a child is not a single transformation. It is a multi-layered awakening that challenges the very foundations of how we perceive ourselves. Let's start with one of the greatest misunderstandings. People often confuse childlikeness with naivete. But ancient spiritual traditions saw the child not as ignorant, but as undefended. A child is vulnerable, open, and impressionable. But that openness is precisely what allows them to learn, adapt, and absorb reality without resistance. In the esoteric interpretation, this quality becomes spiritual flexibility, the ability to see beyond the rigid mental structures adults cling to. And here lies the first paradox. True spiritual strength comes from gentleness, not force. A child does not overpower the world, they harmonize with it. Their awareness flows, shifts, and expands without clinging. In mystical language, this is the essence of the soft overcoming the hard, found in Taoist philosophy, and echoed by Jesus in sayings about the meek inheriting the earth. The child embodies this truth effortlessly. The second paradox involves identity. Adults define themselves through stories, their past, their achievements, their wounds, their beliefs. These stories become a kind of psychic armor. But Jesus' teaching invites us to loosen that armor, not to discard identity entirely, but to recognize it as a costume, rather than the core of who we are. Children don't cling to identity. They play with identities. One moment they're explorers, the next they're superheroes, the next they're artists. Their sense of self is fluid, creative, alive. And this fluidity is precisely what many spiritual traditions identify as the precondition for enlightenment. The less tightly you cling to who you think you are, the more space you create for truth to enter. Here's the second paradox then. To know your true self, you must become someone who can let go of the false self. But the Gospel of Thomas hints at an even deeper layer. When the text says, "The elder must ask the 7-day-old child about the place of life," it is alluding to what ancient mystics called the eternal self, the part of you untouched by time. In many traditions, the newborn represents the soul before it fully enters the world's illusions. The elder symbolizes the conscious mind, seeking to return to its origin, its source, its place of life. This brings us to the third paradox. The journey forward is also a journey backward. Spiritual awakening is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering what you were before conditioning shaped you. The path is not linear, but circular, returning to the beginning with the wisdom of the journey intact. Another misconception worth addressing is the idea that this child state is passive. In reality, it is profoundly active. Children are creators. Their imaginations generate worlds. They are scientists, constantly experimenting. They are mystics, sensing magic in ordinary things. They are artists, unafraid to express what moves within them. The childlike consciousness Jesus spoke of is not a retreat. It is an expansion. It reconnects you with the creative force that shapes reality itself. In esoteric traditions, this force is called the Logos, the Tao, the divine word, or the creative spark. A child accesses it naturally. An awakened adult learns to access it consciously. Finally, we must explore the most mysterious implication of saying 4. The child is a mirror. The 7-day-old child has no ego, no assumptions, no projections. It reflects reality exactly as it is, without distortion. To become like this child is to become a clear mirror, seeing without judgment, listening without bias, responding without fear. The child sees truth, not because it understands truth intellectually, but because it has not yet learned to lie to itself. This is Jesus' hidden message. The kingdom is not hidden from you. You are hidden from it. Your own layers of belief, fear, and identity obscure what is always present. To become like a child is to peel those layers away until reality reveals itself in its original brilliance. And now that we understand the depth of this teaching, the next question becomes, how do we actually practice this? How do we translate this poetic wisdom into daily transformation? That is exactly what we will explore next. Understanding the child state is one thing. Becoming it, experiencing it in your bones, is another. This is where spiritual knowledge transforms from theory into alchemy. The goal isn't to imitate children, but to access the inner posture they embody: presence, openness, fluidity, and unconditioned perception. Here are the practices that can help you return to that original state, not as regression, but as awakening. 1. The practice of unlearning. Every spiritual tradition recognizes the importance of clearing the mind from accumulated assumptions. Adults often experience reality through layers of mental interpretation, memories, fears, cultural conditioning, prejudices. The first step toward the child state is learning to suspend these filters, even for a moment. Try this exercise. Sit quietly and choose a familiar object: a cup, a leaf, your hand. Then pretend you have never seen it before. Ask yourself, what is this, before my mind names it? This simple practice weakens the habitual grip of labels, returning you to raw perception. Over time, it trains your awareness to see without the interference of concepts. 2. Reclaiming presence. One of the greatest qualities of a child is their ability to live fully in the moment. They don't dwell on the past or chase the future. Their attention is whole and undivided. To cultivate this, pause throughout the day and take a single conscious breath. Not 10, not 5, just 1. Feel the breath entering and leaving your body, as if experiencing it for the first time. This resets your nervous system and anchors your awareness in the now. With repetition, your mind begins to reconnect with the natural rhythm of presence that children inhabit effortlessly. 3. The courage to feel. Children feel emotions freely. They cry without shame. They laugh without restraint. They don't suppress their inner world. They express it. In spiritual terms, this is emotional authenticity, and it is essential for awakening. When you feel a difficult emotion, allow it to rise without labeling it as good or bad. Imagine the emotion as a wave passing through you. You don't need to analyze it or fix it. Just let it move. This practice reopens the emotional pathways that adulthood often closes. It restores the child's capacity for vulnerability, one of the purest forms of spiritual strength. 4. The beginner's mind ritual. Each morning, try this simple ritual. Sit at the edge of your bed. Place your hand over your heart. Whisper, "Today I see with new eyes." This is not affirmation, it is intention. It reminds the mind to soften, to release yesterday's persona, and to enter the day with the curiosity of someone meeting the world anew. 5. Creative reawakening children transform imagination into reality. They don't ask if they're good enough to create. They simply create. Reclaiming this inner artist is a profound spiritual act. Take 10 minutes a day to do something creative with zero expectation. Draw, write nonsense, hum a melody, build something with your hands. Not for achievement, for play. This awakens the divine spark within, the same creative force that ancient mystics described as the blueprint of the universe. 6. The art of not knowing. Ultimately, the child state is rooted in mystery. Children don't pretend to know, they explore. Adults cling to answers. So once a day, choose something you think you understand. Your job, your partner, your beliefs. And say quietly, "Maybe I don't know." This simple phrase cracks the shell of certainty. It reopens the portals of wonder and allows wisdom to enter. The kingdom reveals itself not to the confident, but to the curious. Each of these practices is simple, yet profoundly transformative. Through them, you begin dissolving the hardened layers of adulthood, returning to the fluid, luminous awareness that has always lived within you. The call to become like a child is not a poetic metaphor or a moral lesson tucked inside an ancient saying. It is a map, a secret blueprint for returning to the consciousness you carried before the world told you who to be. In saying 4, Jesus wasn't asking us to shed our maturity or abandon wisdom. He was pointing us toward a fusion. The clarity of innocence merged with the insight of experience, the softness of a child holding hands with the awareness of an elder. When we look closely, we realize that the child is not behind us in time. The child lives inside us beneath layers of memory and story, beneath the armor we've built, beneath the voices we've inherited. It was never lost, only forgotten. You reconnect to this inner child each time you drop a belief that no longer serves you, each time you breathe deeply into the present moment, each time you allow yourself to feel, to imagine, to wonder. These are not small actions. They are revolutionary. They reclaim the part of you that sees the world as alive, sacred, and filled with possibility. And perhaps this is the greatest secret of all. The kingdom that Jesus spoke of is not a distant paradise. It is a state of consciousness, a way of perceiving the world with unguarded eyes and an unburdened heart. When you become like the 7-day-old child, undefended, open, present, you don't enter the kingdom enters you. So as you move forward from this moment, carry a simple question with you. What would the child within me do right now? Not the child shaped by the world, but the child untouched by it. The child of 7 days, the child who still remembers the place of life. If this journey resonated with you, consider sharing your thoughts below. What part of your inner child are you ready to reclaim? And if you're drawn to explore more ancient teachings, mysteries, and esoteric wisdom, be sure to join us for future explorations into the hidden dimensions of consciousness. Until then, see with new eyes, breathe with a new heart, and return again and again to the doorway within.